Hello, beloveds. It's Sundari, the alchemist of light, also known as Marci Mentor. I'm so happy to be back with you again and sharing an amazing conversation with Michelle Mary Sophia Lee. She is a sacred woman catalyst, a women's empowerment coach, spiritual guide, teacher, has been doing it for 27 plus years, is well recognized, an author of many books, and just an amazing, glorious being who would have never foreseen herself doing plant medicine. And so, in this conversation with Marci on Medicine series, we dive into her experiences and her reclamation of her power through plant medicine, healing multi-generational traumas, healing sexual pain and traumas, being open to receive pleasure, being liberated from fear. There's a lot of gold nuggets here. And so I'm excited to share this conversation with you. And if you haven't yet, I highly recommend and invite you, my loves, to go to marcilock.com, where you can opt in and get the Living in 100% Joy Now training for free. Also, while you're there, check out and see if there's anything that calls to you, any area that you're experiencing resistance in. There are so many things here to support. If it's money you're having shit with, then money medicine is probably going to be your jam, or awaken relationships or unconscious commitments, learning to move through anything that's unconscious to be able to consciously create the reality that you truly desire. And so I highly recommend the book and going through the Freedom Activators. If you're someone who's looking for an entire pathway of support, then the Align to Manifest Life Mastery program is next level amazing and awesomeness. And if again you're just looking for something to support you in what you're experiencing the most resistance in right now, then please check out the meditations, the activations, and the programs. And I'm so happy to be on the journey with you. If you're also interested in the Marci Ascension Adventures, the plant medicine sacred sacrament retreats and experiences, and even with myself or the trained facilitators, you can check out the link also in the events page around that. And I hope you truly enjoy all the gold nuggets here in this show. And I'm sending you so much love, infinitely, completely, always, and in always. And thank you, my loves, for being here. Hello, beloveds. We're so grateful to have you join us for this sacred transmission with the sacred woman catalyst herself, a women empowerment coach, mentor and guide. We're talking to Michelle Mary Sophia Lee, the woman who is the founder of the Sophia Mystery School. She's been a spiritual guide and teacher for a long time. Has an amazing track record of years of experience in working with clients and leaders across the board in transformation. And I'm grateful to actually have gotten to call her a personal client, as well as had her through many of my experiences and programs and retreats, and her being a facilitator now in the Marci Ascension Transformational Retreats and the Awakened Embodied Healer program. So I've gotten to witness like, wow, like this woman in depth. And I'm just always been in awe and fascination of her gifts, her abilities, the leader she stands as an embodied healed healer. Thank you. Versus, a healer that hasn't healed their own shit and is projecting a lot of things out onto other people. I am so grateful to be in the space of someone who I can so highly recommend in working with people and feel so much just honor and awe of. So Michelle, thank you for being here, my love.
Oh my gosh, Marci, thank you for that intro. Incredible. And it's my honor and pleasure to be here. So grateful to be in your presence and to have had the many, many, many multitude, infinite benefits of working with you. Thank you.
Thanks, lover. I receive that. I appreciate and receive that. Wink, wink. Yeah, babe. Well, so my love, you're someone that this is obviously like one of the intentions of the share, because I know we could probably jam out for many hours and you have so many nuggets of truth from your many years of spiritual transformation and guiding people. And our intention here is kind of opening up the field of your experience with medicine, because medicine was completely new to you until you started working with me as a personal client and then got to go to my mini retreats, and then obviously was like, holy shit, what? This also exists in spiritual transformation, and went the journey of becoming a facilitator and leading other people through these transformations with sacred sacraments. What I find fascinating is so I've gotten to see many sides of you. So I know you're a nutball as well. You're just like me. You're a nutball and you're hilarious and all these things. And yet when we first started working together, I saw very much the Michelle that was just all put together in the Sophia Mystery School. It's like the spiritual leader. You definitely carry the Mother Mary codes. So you transmit Mother Mary codes. And so, it's like ta ta ta, but I kind of see like the divine mother as like, she's not this like sacred little, she's like, let's fucking get this party started. Let's play fully in life. Like she's a sensual goddess. She's all of it. And so I kind of think like the way the image maybe people saw you or how I saw you in the beginning was like someone that I wouldn't ever picture being like, let's go do medicine. And and so I'm really excited for you to kind of share how that all came about for you, and being, again, a spiritual teacher and a woman's empowerment coach in this way, how those worlds merged.
Huh.
Huh?
So much there. My first experience with medicine was listening to your podcast. And yeah, being at the gym on the Stairmaster, listening to Marci talk about medicine on your podcast. I was like, and just how much you benefited from that medicine. And I just always thought, man, if I were to ever do medicine, it would have to be with Marci.
Yeah.
It would have to be with Marci. Yeah.
Well,
and
you are a
that's
powerful manifester.
I am indeed. I agree. And, that was before I ever thought I would ever be able to work with you or anything. It was just kind of in the field, as you say, right? Like if I ever did medicine, it would have to be with Marci. And then we started working together, and you're like, oh, and my love, you get a retreat with your coaching program with me, and that retreat was in Colombia. And
I love your impression of me, by the way. Oh, my love, did I turn British? By the way, you also get a retreat. Oh.
It felt that way.
And you're like, what?
I know. I was like, holy shit.
Well, I want
like,
to back up 1 second, because you even shared with me later, which I didn't know this, how you had the intention of working with me, and where you always thought, because again, this is a big misconception for people, is that because I have coached people at over $1 million level and some of the biggest business in the world, they hear that and they think the only option is $1 million coaching. And so you were like, can you share that before, like, so how you even manifested that, I think is powerful.
Yeah. Well, I had gone to a Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat, and he really likes the mind movie process. And so I created my mind movie, and you were in my mind movie, and I was manifesting working with you. And when I came back from that retreat, I was just like, all right, I'm just going to reach out and see if maybe we can do a weekend or something.
Yeah. And you created personal coaching. And for like a year and a half, 2 years, we did 2 rounds of personal coaching before you went into Awakened Embodied Healer and all the other things too. So see what you get when you just move forward. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Step by step.
So before this is when you were listening to the Marci on Medicine series, right? And hearing about it. And then we start an experience together, and you find out you get to do a retreat with medicine. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was scared to death, I'll tell you. I did. I told my husband, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to Colombia and I'm going to be doing ayahuasca. And I was freaked out, and I was freaked out because I didn't know what to expect. And I was also so super excited. I knew I couldn't not do it. It was a must.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what I love about you, even though that's what I mean by like, there's this part of you that's like very put together, maybe has been more conservative to a degree. It's like, you're like, oh, if I ever go do medicine, I'm going to use an accent now. Listen, it'll be with Marci. And yet, really, you're like, I am not going to fucking new medicine. Like you were like planning on it. You know what I mean? And then the opportunity, of course, see the higher, all the synchronicities, the connections, like leading you that way, presents itself. And I love witnessing this about you. You're always willing to lean in, even into what's uncomfortable and scares you, because it's only greater on the other side. Like, it's like, let's move through this comfort zone. And so I knew Colombia would trigger you a lot. And I love that you were like, how can I not? Like, of course I'm going to go. Like, it doesn't matter how scary it sounds to my human brain, which is the funniest thing. Now, you being on the other side, it's hilarious, isn't it? It's like, we laugh about how the funniest thing is how people create so much fear and trauma and suffering and struggle for themselves over the ideas of what it is and all that. And this is why we do all the prep and all the things to support and clearing that energy. Yeah, it's like, when you get there, we just laugh our fucking asses off. We have our greatest healings, the greatest transformational experiences, our greatest activations of consciousness. We get the visions, the clarity, like everything fucking shifts to a huge degree. How, like, the greatest gifts. Why did we create so much suffering for ourselves? So now you get that, and we can laugh about it.
Absolutely get it. I can't wait to go back.
Yes. And and you've been twice to Colombia, and you've been in 2 of my Journey to Remembrance retreats, not to mention facilitating and training and supporting by my side in retreats and experiences as well. So yeah. And your first time going down, you weren't so excited.
I was pretty sure I wasn't going back.
Yeah, exactly. I remember.
I'm like, bye, jungle. Been nice.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely nice. It was the most healing experience I had ever had in my life. And eye-opening and awakening to trauma that I was carrying in my body that I had no idea I was carrying. That's just it. And I have been on the spiritual growth, personal development track for years. I've been a women's empowerment coach for over 20 years.
I know.
And yeah, so
that's why I was like, babes, you get a retreat with me. This is where we're going. Because I was like you, where I've worked with medicine now 14 years, and, I continue to follow the call and whenever anything calls me, and deepen my relationships in that way and continue to expand. And I had done, so what was that? Like, I'd done like 10 plus years of deep self-empowerment devoted to that journey before working with medicine. And I was like, holy fuck, like, this just quantum leaped me beyond what anything I could have done in the human world did. And it continues to. And this is why I'm like, I get to be a proponent of talking about it and sharing these things, and why I went down the journey of learning to really create those relationships with the sacred sacraments and learn how to work with them and create the sacred spaces, et cetera, as you have, because it's just like, what? I've been doing this for this many years. How can I not share this with other people? How could I not share this? Right? It'd be such a disservice to the people that you're even committed to, that are invested in working with you, such as your clients and your programs, let alone like, you're like, yeah, just like life, humanity, of you not being this transmission. So maybe you can share some insights as you say, you were like, hands down, best, greatest healing ever, healed all my traumas, etc. What did that look like? What were some of the emotional transformations and the healing transformations that you had? Because I know you've had, and it's like one journey, you can have so many. We obviously, every time we go to the jungle, we had 4 to 5 different ceremonies of journeys, which can feel like 40 plus years of deep transformational work, just all in one little week. So to pick a few can be one of the most challenging things. I know you had some really huge ones for you. What are some of those? And would you mind, I would love you to share if you were open to sharing.
Absolutely. One major life-changing experience was liberating myself from fear. And I had no idea when I went into my first journey with ayahuasca, how much underlying fear I had of evil or darkness. Yeah. And that really affected my ability to connect with divinity, right? So because I was in such a shell of, so separation. Yeah. And so working through the medicine totally dissolved any fear of any darkness, and truly understanding. And you said these words to me, you said these words to me, is that it's all you. It's
Yeah.
all you, lover. That's what you say. It's all you,
Yeah.
lover. And I was like,
You are
at
good
first,
impressions of me. I do say lover and beloved a lot.
and
Yeah.
at first I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is evil, right?
Yeah.
But with
Yeah.
medicine, because we don't go to the jungle and do one journey, we do
Yeah.
multiple journeys.
Yeah.
I was able to truly embody what you had said and truly understand what you meant by that,
Mhm.
by experiencing it, right? Like it's just so different. Like you can say those words to me and I'm like, but Marci doesn't get it. But what really, it was me not getting it. But the journeying with the medicine brings it home. It's embodied.
Yes, this is why I love my one of my best ways of explaining experiential training, which is why I'm such a fucking fan of the medicine work and the retreats and the type of work that I do in person is experiential training. Because I'm like, you can be like, I want to be a swimmer. I'm gonna be a swimmer. And yeah, I got fears about the water and I'm afraid I'm gonna drown. And I have all these limiting beliefs. And so, like, let's fucking mind process this. Let's do some emotional processing, some mind processing. I'm gonna visualize it, I'm gonna see it. But you are not a fucking swimmer, my love, until you get in the water. And so, and that's where, like, when we dive in, that all, and the human mind can get out of the way and we can dive into our inner realms of all the energy, the stuck energy, the traumas, the inherited DNA, all the things within our system that we have suppressed, that we weren't willing to look at, and from the human perspective, that then we can dive into. And the medicine, and what I meant when I said that to you, and what I teach, is that the medicine will just reflect everything within the system. So it's, and I remember this moment. I remember you calling me over and, like, in deep fear, and like, it feels so dark, it feels so scary. And this idea, and I was like, lover, it's all within. It's everything that is you. It's just reflecting you. It's not that there's this dark, scary energy. Plus, we're in sacred space, we're in clean energy. And that's why it's got to move through. Yet in your learnings before, it's like, hey, this is going to come up and we get to know how to work with it, that we can process and move it through, which you did. You did amazingly. And to have on the other side, which I so love that you're sharing this piece, because I had, from the time I was little, I had, in like the crib, I really remember, like, I had, we'll go extra woo-woo multidimensional, sharing pieces of my story, but I had, interactions with aliens that abducted me. And I had a lot of dark, what felt as, and I have these remembrances of being a baby in the crib, dark energy attacks. And so I was terrified of going to sleep. I didn't sleep until literally I was 28 years old. I, had stalkers, rape attempts, kidnappers. I attracted all these things because there was this deep fear. So I so got what you were, this fear of dark energy, this fear of something outside of me, because I was terrified of everything outside of me my entire life, until I came through these greater understandings of, like, everything is just energy and frequency. Oh, that's just a lower vibrational frequency. That's a higher vibrational. It's all just has a right to exist, and not giving it my power. And I remember you going through this and explaining this, where it's like, when we stop giving it power, it has no power over us. It's simply an energy that's existing and a frequency. Yet until we're willing to go into those, the internal places that have fears of, that we give our power away, that you felt like a victim, that you could be attacked or hurt or etc. That was the dark energy that had to come through. And for you to come on the other side, and I just was like so grateful to witness this journey of you, that that you went through, to come on the other side and be like, I have, like, it was gone. Like, you were like, I'm liberated from fear. I'm liberated from this idea that, anything can ever hurt me, or dark energy, or that I'm ever unsafe. Like, that's what I experience now in the world, where I'm like, I can't imagine feeling unsafe, because I am my own source of safety. And I travel the whole fucking world. What most people are like, oh my God, you're traveling alone. And I'm like, I'm never alone. I'm always with source and myself and all of life. And, like, I'm always safe. And that's so common, I think, for a lot of people, but they don't have a connection to how to heal that, or where it comes from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And my intention for medicine was liberation, right? To be liberated. And
Mhm.
when I made that intention, I wasn't aware that that meant facing my fears. That's so funny.
Yeah, it is funny, right? Well, of course, to be liberated, I get to face everything that's creating a lack of liberation, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. So that was just it still is so huge for me. I mean,
Yeah.
just the freedom and the liberation to know that I am safety. I am
Yeah.
safety, just like you said. Yeah.
Yeah. And you say that, and it's a conviction, you know it. It's like you know it within your system. And that is, again, a piece of the experiential training is that there's an imprinting. Not only do we all do all this cleansing, and this is why, my loves, we just want to remind in here, this is why we're very specific about preparing and knowing how. If you didn't know how to, what was that was a possibility that you were going to face all the fears, the anxious, and how to move the energy and like literally cleanse it from your system and find the higher perspectives and attune to that and imprint with it, it would have been a completely different experience. You know, it
Sure.
would have been terrified and creating trauma, which is what so many people experience because they don't have the direction and the pathway to work with the medicine. The medicine is just trying to reflect for you everything to be able to move through and heal. But most people go into absolute, I see something scary, I feel something scary, terror. And instead of move through it, heal it, release it, and be open and activated to what's really true and what's on the other side and your liberation from that thing that has been stuck within your system. So, yeah, like you had done the journey of preparing and knowing how to move through that, and then to integrate that so that
Yeah.
you had this imprinting in the jungle, this imprinting of experience, and then you got to come back and recode your reality of everything that associated to fear that you no longer bought into that, and you recoded your reality to be, I am liberated, I am safe, I am fucking free, I am sovereign, I do what's most nourishing for my soul. Like to see you expand and even to the highest level ways of a leader and your levels of mastery, like there's not a lot of people that will go to that level of, are willing to lean into that level of mastery I've seen you willing to lean into, that catapulted, it felt like, from your medicine, that opened up so many things like, whoa. And you're the one, I believe you're the one who said this to me, or you and I had the conversation that really brought this phrase in, where you were like, what is it about not playing the game? You can either play the game well, the program well, or like you're opting out of the game completely. You know what I mean? Do you know what the
Yeah.
phrases
I'm not here to master the program, right?
exactly?
Program. I'm here to master my liberation, my freedom. Yeah. To live.
Freedom of the program. Yeah.
Yes.
So what we're referring to is that most people, so are operating from the program of like how the collective works, the 3D, what's our paradigms, and what's safe, etc. And when we're really called to completely fucking shatter that and release that, it hits that level of comfort zone that I said, like, there's a lot of people who would go, retreat, I'm just gonna play the program well. I'll play I'll play well into the program, like, okay, I'm gonna have a high level of success and it's gonna look like this, and I'm just going to stay in the program and play it in a high way that it looks like I'm successful, versus I'm willing to fucking shatter the program and go completely outside of it and be in my total liberation. And that's what I've seen you continue to do and continue to lean into. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, babe.
Receive
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, good job. Yeah. So liberated, which you put the intention of, is what you got. Liberated from fear. Was there any other deep shifts for you that you feel called to share?
Oh
So many,
yeah.
right?
Sure. Yeah. So many, so many. Reclaiming my power.
Mm,
Reclaiming my power.
yeah.
That was a big one in ayahuasca as well.
Mm,
And
mm,
so interesting how it showed up. Yeah, showed up as feeling like I need food, and feeling like this emptiness in my solar plexus.
yep.
And grandmother ayahuasca shared with me in such fun ways
Uh-huh.
and humorous ways that yeah, that this wasn't a physical experience. It wasn't a need for food in my body. It
Something outside of you that was a distraction, right? Of your power.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And really reclaiming and calling forth and remembering I am my power. And in encoding that over and over with the medicine, you know, it continued to upgrade and upgrade. And she shared with me that message: I am the power. I don't need anything outside of me. I am the power. And then it became, I am source power. And then I am source code. And then I am source. And so it was this complete activation of my divinity, an activation of the remembrance of my divinity. Oh, so profound, so profound.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And just the pieces, it's like as you're speaking to it, it's like the next piece, the next piece, the next piece that connects, click, click, click. It's like you click in this code where you're like, oh, I am source. Like there is no separation from me as source and the power and all that is in the connection. And it opens up everything because you're attuned to a whole different level of frequency in life and how you operate in your manifestations and everything else. And like the way that you're like, like it's so, I feel like I have the coolest, what you might use as a human word as job, the coolest job ever. I'm like, how else do I describe this so that people can relate to it? Is that because I just get to witness like the magic of everyone's like greatest transformations of remembrance, you know, and their greatest healings and activations, and to going from like illusions and suffering and struggle to complete knowing of their divinity and remembrance, and that being the imprinting, and then see that, bring that into their life and how it affects everyone in their world. And then it continue to upgrade and up level as we get to, you know, discover more and more of these truths and these layers. You also mentioned, well, and I feel a follow up here in that, how is that connected you or shifted for you your connection to maybe your purpose or your mission, or, you know, like knowing your power and your experiences in the jungle? Did it shift your awareness or your guidance or your visions or your clarity on your mission, like what you would consider your purpose and what you're sharing with the world?
So much, so much. You know, it grounded me. For some time, I have felt, you know, I've always felt on my path. I've been doing this work for over 20 years, right? Like, so I felt on my path, but for the last couple of years, I've been shifting and growing, and the medicine just really anchored in the whole sacred woman codes, anchored in Mother Mary codes. You know, I have felt very close to Mother Mary, but now it's like, oh, I am Mary Sophia. And I was given that name with the medicine. And it was no longer like this etheric idea. Yeah, it was no longer out there. It was bam, anchored within me, embodied, fully embodied in it. And and it has just shifted how people experience me. It has shifted how I experience myself, how I am in the world. I've had so many comments on, wow, you just feel so grounded, so grounded, right? Yeah. So it just fully, it just clicked.
Yeah. So when we first started coaching together, you were just going by your human name. And I was like, you have Mother Mary codes. You're totally transmitting Mother Mary. And you were like, yeah, I'm super connected to Mother Mary, etc. And I remember when you had this big shift in the jungle and like this came in, and then the human was like, can I claim this? Are people going to think I'm fucking crazy? People going to think I'm egotistical? And getting to dissolve through that human stuff to be like, this is what I know. And to see you like now claiming and living and being that, and what that transmits from you, that is where it's like, hey, we get to own our gifts, our capacity, our abilities, who we're here to be, and the codes that we carry. And that's also been so beautiful to witness. Like I saw the essence shifts in you, you know, to be like, you're like, I am fucking here transmitting these codes, like receive them or don't, you know, like, you know, feel free. But yet you're claiming, you're owning, you're like living so fully in your sovereignty and your experience of what you truly want to be experienced, versus there was stagnation in the field or in the frequency before of like, again, it's kind of like, can I be this? And do I need, or how are people going to respond? You know, a reaction from outside versus like, hey, I'm fucking being this. And, you know, that's it. It's like, whether you receive it or not, I'm fucking being this. Like, and I'm giving myself permission to live my greatest life and in my purpose. So that's been super cool as well. You know, one that I remember, because I'd love if you're open to sharing a bit about this, your healing even sexual trauma and opening. You said, like, I mean, I got to witness you obviously in my other retreats as well, working with Bufu and 5-MeO, like coming into like gentle pleasure and that becoming a code that you could easily shift into to like change frequency and transmit. So I've witnessed so many things about you, yet I remember it being like you saying that healing your lower chakras and opening yourself to finally get to receive pleasure to a greater degree and healing a lot of things in that aspect, which I think so many women, I say women and men, yet so many women, I think particularly deal with carrying a lot of trauma in their womb and their hips and from, you know, interactions they've had with, you know, inside them that can create different energetic exchange. So I would love you to share in that if you could.
Yeah, for sure. We had a great laugh when I said I wanted to experience orgasmic bliss, but I didn't want anybody to see me or hear me.
I know. You're like, Marci, God fucks all the time, which we're really talking about soul fucking. I just like to say it's like God frequency essence, like you're fucking all of life. And so my word for it has been God fucking, but soul orgasmic fucking is one of another great reference point to it. And yeah, like I think you'd witnessed me or heard me in it many times and heard about, and there's kind of like, hey, you know, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah.
That, but I don't want to be seen. I don't want anyone to watch me or to be heard, which was like, well, that's interesting. How's that gonna work?
Well, it didn't. But yeah, you know, that was my intention. And the second time going to Colombia, the first day on medicine, I got to have that experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just so incredible. And it was like, you know, I was doing my gentle pleasure piece, you know, my lower tones and just moving the energy with the medicine and being with the medicine and expressing and, you know, moving my body and just kind of going with it. And it was an act of surrender. One, because like you said, you know, I'm put together, I'm control, you know, like I will have an orgasm when I have privacy.
Yeah, exactly. Versus I'm here fully available for all of it to just fucking have it all now, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck me open. Thank you. And if you hear, you're welcome. That's how I see it.
Exactly. And so it was just this process, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this is happening. This is happening right now. And just letting go and allowing the energy move through my body and feel that full body pleasure and allow myself to express that. And it was really beautiful. I was inside the Maloka and I had Maria cheering me on. And, you know, I had all this support of, you know, just, yes, Michelle, yes, go. You know, it was just so beautiful. And yeah, you know, I had hoped it would be the first day, that I wouldn't be focused on that for all of the journeys, you know, or, you know, distracted by that desire, I guess. And so once I had that experience, it was so glorious. And it just opened me up to have so many other kinds of experiences as well. It helped put my mind at ease, like that. Oh, I can feel the pleasure.
I can have all the experiences and I can be open to all the experiences. And what I love is as why I want to add in here why it's important to look at the pieces where there's resistance is because so first night we do hape. We work with rape, sacred rape, tobacco medicine to clear the system and clear anything out. And then in between all the ceremonies and, after rape, we were processing, right? Like what's there? What are your intentions going in tomorrow? And are you clear to go in tomorrow to medicine? And where you were speaking to, like what we noticed was the resistance come around the orgasmic pleasure. And yet you're like, I want that, but I want it in this way. And so we got to break that down and look at, and talk about the way that we access these pathways, whereas I that we dive deep into this, into the medicine audios and the things preparing people is like how we follow the energy that then opens the door and the access pathway. We get to go there. And you were doing that by your like just being with like pleasure and the sensual energy and the gentle pleasure, which you access kind of with 5-MeO. And then it led you all of a sudden through that doorway, and it was there and it was happening and it was available, and it's not something that's outside you. It's always within you when you're willing to surrender and allow and give access to it. So I really, for me, or at least in what I could say I've experienced with the, 14 plus years of working with people and so many people and taking them through medicine, is that there's these human things that are still there, right? And you're like, my soul wants this, but my human is, I don't really want that, and that this is why it's so important that we process through that and we clear that people can go in, versus if you were like, day one, okay, yeah, I want that, but you had never cleared that. I'm afraid to express or to actually experience it or to be seen, etc. Which I had that as well, way before I ever did God fucking publicly. Like I say publicly within like freely in my retreats or whatever. And I guess in some way I am public about it, in the fact that I can be anywhere and be like, I'm like being sensual pleasure. And that terrified the fuck out of me before. Like I had to clear through those layers of healing of I'm fully worthy to be seen, to be heard, to be expressed, to receive pleasure. And it's only continued to activate into where I'm like, I can't even imagine worrying about that. Yet so many people do. And if you hadn't gotten to break that down, that gives again the inner child, as well as these wounded aspects and parts of ourselves that feels like, no, that's not safe. We want them to go, oh, okay. So this is the other possibility. This is how it is safe. And what am I really seeking, wanting? And, so that it's an open access point to allow that to then happen. And I think a lot of people don't experience either. I would say if they're not guided and they have the support, they don't experience these big transformational shifts because there isn't that available. It's like, I want to go into medicine and have some great glorious experience and have all this healing, but everything within them says, I do not want this healing. This is what I'm going to hold on to because this is what keeps me safe, right? Like these stories, these ideas, these limitations. So when it comes up, it's not received and it's not worked with to be able to allow that healing. It's actually rejected and run from because it's bringing up everything that terrifies the person from their human perspective, right? Which would have terrified you. Like, oh no, medicine, you can God fuck me maybe when everyone is out of the Maloka and gone and I'm all by myself, versus you guys hear me all the time. You're like, oh, Marci's God fucking again on the other side of the jungle. Oh, she's fucking a tree over there. Okay, that's cool. And I'm just like, of course I'm going to be at all the pleasure that comes up with all of life. Yet you're able to receive that because you also worked through that. And now how has that affected your reality in your world with your husband, with receiving pleasure, with being more expressed, more seen, more heard, etc., and being this code for other people, because you can't be it for others until you're being it and you're embodied in it.
So much transformation. I'm so much more open with my husband and talking about being expressed, not just sexually, but I remember when you and I first started working together and you're like, you sound alchemy and you taught me this process. And I'm like, oh my gosh, my husband's going to hear me. Now my husband's so used to hearing me, it's like, oh, you sound like you had some great toning this morning, honey. And He's always hearing me. And so that is such a shift to be expressed. And now I feel the sensual and sexual aliveness within me once again. And really being able to connect with my husband at that level, and being able to receive pleasure from him, and pleasure him, feeling just so much more free. And so it's another level of liberation.
So put together, there's a lot more happening.
Exactly.
Amazing.
So much more fun.
Oh, so much fun.
And the whole integration part and breaking down the stories, right, is such an important part, that working with you and that I've learned now. So working with me as we take people through medicine experiences is like, we get to look at what's showing up, and you taking me through that, like recognizing that, oh, I was shutting down around the whole idea of just being in pleasure, right? And feeling the sensation, and you walking me through that shifted everything. And that's what I find, like doing this work and doing the work your way is just so accelerated. It's just so accelerated, One day I'm saying, we can't be expressing this sensual pleasure at the dinner table, and 24 hours.
You were in God fucking. I know. It can be that fast.
Right?
Yeah. It can be that fast. It doesn't have to be these lifetimes of, processing through shame or trauma or blah, blah, blah. We can move it so fucking quickly when working with medicine, as well as all these other elements, a part of it that gets each piece of it and allowing us to do it. And, this is now the joke between you and I, because in so many of the medicine experiences, there was you like before, like in more of the human, that was like, oh, never. Like we have this joke where Michelle was like, so Michelle, her first experience with rape was, there was a lot of clearing in your first few experiences with rape. And because you had heard me talk about it so much, and it was a piece of, I can claim that I am a fucking Jedi with rape. The angels themselves taught me how to work with rape. And I've had so many people that have worked with it for many, many years and had an inkling of an experience, and they come into my space and they have a full blown fucking like massive clearing of systems and things and a huge healing experience. And it's because of the specific codes that I was given to work with it. And so you're like, cool, we're doing rape. Like you were so excited. And then after your first experience, which was a lot had to move through your system, which was beautiful, that prepared you to even work with the medicine at even a greater degree, the other medicines and them collaborating together. You were like, I don't know, I don't really like this rape stuff. And I don't know if Marci is my coach. And it was like, the human had a lot of resistance through some of these layers. And so, we found it hilarious that Michelle many times has said like, oh, that's never going to happen. Like you were like you did the whole had amazing experiences come in. You're like, and that's probably it. And then I was like, oh, I saw a vision of you and your daughter here this November. And I wasn't even planning on coming back. And what happened is we all ended up back there that very 6 months later, and your daughter was in it. And then her husband went through another retreat experience and healed his cancer. And it was like, as I remember that you were like, can we do rape? After I did it with your daughter in our Journey to Remembrance experience, she was going through a lot of fear and so I took her through the processing, moving energy. And then I felt really called to do rape with her, to just clear it out and take her to Bliss, which we did. And then you come out and you're like, can I do rape? And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And you're like, said no, Michelle, ever. And so I realized I saw your funny side where you were just hilarious and you were trying to be a jokester. And I was like, funny, because guess what? I really feel like that's going to be a thing. Within 24 hours, you were like, oh, I feel really called. I want to do more rape. I want to learn to work with rape. So, you can speak to it from one side, but we always wait to see what really comes about, what really happens. So it's kind of hilarious, right? To like see what our human is thinking. And then when we're open up, like, oh, these gifts and capacities that are available to us. Why would I move forward with this? there's one more, my love, that I remember feeling like was big and powerful for you, which I would love you to share if you're open to, is that the healing of relationships. You had a huge relationship experience in your life that had created a ton of trauma and had been a resistance piece for you through many years. And you claim that you completely healed it and had a
Yeah.
complete transformation of it in working with medicine. And I think that's huge for people.
Yeah. Yeah. It is so huge. And, you know, part of the work of ayahuasca was generational
Mm-hmm.
and familial family healing. And that those first journeys were releasing that trauma. And I was completely downloaded with the history of my family and what had been passed down.
Mm.
And then the next time I came to Colombia, that first day was the purging of the rest of that, which then led
Mm.
to the orgasmic bliss,
Yes.
right? And I
Yes.
had more downloads about the family and the generational pain and trauma. And it was about my mom. And before, you know, after the medicine and as we were integrating with you and receiving the coaching from you, that was a question that came up, is like, do I share this information with her? You know, will it be received? Is it mine to share with her? And your coaching was absolutely beautiful. And the day after I returned home, the very next morning, you know, my mom is there. My daughter is there, and we're both just back from the journeying, and we're sharing our experiences. And I shared everything but that experience. And then I asked my mom, I said, I did receive information for you, about you. Are you willing to hear it? And she said, yes. She had hoped that last time I went to Colombia that I would have information for her. I did, but I didn't share it. But she shared that with me. She was like, I didn't want to ask if you got anything. And we
Wow.
just, it brings up so much emotion now, you know,
Yeah,
that
beautiful.
we sat at the kitchen table and we cried and I shared. And it was a good 2.5 hour, 3 hour conversation of just her receiving this information and me supporting her in receiving this information. That wasn't easy. It wasn't,
Yeah.
you know, it was you know, she's in her 70s and she's been living with us all of her life. And we got to share that. And it was just so healing. And for us to share with each other our love for each other and our appreciation for one another. It was just incredibly beautiful. It was
Do you feel
powerful.
like that allowed you, that understanding all the things that you got allowed you to see it all out of love, to let it to be healed? Where before there was like, yeah, I know from higher consciousness, again, as a spiritual teacher, you know, from your wholeness, higher self conscious, like, yeah, I get that it's all love. I get that it's all perfect. I know that it was my contract with her and da 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 da. And your human's like, fuck you, you
Exactly.
know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've wondered for years since, you know, since I've been on this healing journey and you know, realizing the traumas of my childhood, I wondered, will I ever really have peace with her? You know, I really wanted it. And I like you said, I knew at a logical level, but my
Mhm.
human was still like victim. My human
Yeah, it
was
wasn't embodied. It wasn't embodied. Yeah,
in
the
body.
vibration was not matching and aligning. It was just thoughts and ideas that you couldn't quite feel or connect to. Yeah.
And the medicine closed that gap, completely
Mm.
closed that gap.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Wow, lover. Wow. I'm
so
like,
much.
I was all teary with you talking about your mom, because I just also know how many things were brought up for you on the path, you know, together. And the traumas and those things. And like, again, for me, I feel like I have the greatest fucking blessed bliss life ever to get to like witness these transformational journeys of like what it was before and where you're at now, and how you're just continuing to expand and grow, and seeing the level of leader you were as you came into my space, and then watching you through these journeys, and the willingness to lean into the uncomfortable, and the mastery that has you liberated, now completely liberated and embodied, really embodied, and sharing these codes and transmissions with so many other people, and these ways of being. And I'm so honored to have you as a facilitator that I can trust. I know will walk people through the medicine expansion formula, and the preparation and the processing and integration, and working with the medicine, and these sacred spaces and sacred teachers that you're in support of and working with. And just, yeah, wow, I'm just so grateful, my love. Thank you for sharing, the vulnerability, the transparency of these sacred experiences, and giving people an awareness of what's really available, how supported we are, how supported we are to just come to that divine blueprint remembrance of our divinity, that's available here and now, my loves. That's available here and now, and it doesn't have to be this lifetime of struggling and suffering. It's like, we're here to fucking play. We're here to remember. We're here to be in our pleasure and our bliss and our expression, our creation, and dance and play together and share our light. And yeah, that is our new earth. And I do believe that these sacred sacraments are a gift for us in coming to that divine blueprint remembrance and living in a new earth frequency. So it's
Oh,
been a joy and an honor to witness you through the whole journey.
it's my honor. I receive that. I do receive that. Right. And Marci, I wake up every day in just such deep gratitude and appreciation that I get to be on this journey with you. And yeah, I get to play this part in this portal that you have created and I get to be instrumental in this portal to create peace on the planet, because I absolutely do believe that these medicines were put here to awaken humanity. Yeah. So thank you.
I'm crying and all the yumminess. So good. Thank you, thank you, thank you, love. I receive and appreciate that, and feel the essence and the frequency, and your truth in that. So thank you. And thanks
Yeah.
for following the call. Even when it was like, oh, Marci Locke's in my field, maybe I can work with her for a weekend. And I'm so grateful you just got curious, because I think that's one of the biggest things for people, where it's like, well, if the energy is guiding me here, let me get curious. You never get what you don't ask for. So you might as well be like, oh, what are the possibilities? Like, we have so many possibilities, because I am so committed to the expansion, awakening, remembrance of humanity, and devoted to our divinity. And so it's like, there's something for everyone. It's but like, get started on the path, like take the step of where you're going. And I'm so grateful that you didn't go, oh, she only offers $1 million coaching someday, instead of like, what would that look like? Let me just reach out and find out. And how that, here we are and I love that. I witnessed that with so many people. They're like, I just, you came into my field, and then I followed that, and, year later, their lives are completely massively different, because, the pathway is there. So
It
yeah,
is.
thank you for that. Thank you for following that. And so, beloveds, we will have all the connections to our beautiful Michelle Mary Sophia Lee, and all her glorious offerings and the things that she has here on the show notes. You can also, through the retreat system, the resources portal, be able to find out which event she has on for the year, where she's obviously leading and guiding and facilitating and supporting with the preparation through the processing, the integration. Like, it really, there's everything from the deep 5 to 6 month transformation, where we're preparing people for 2 to 3 months in advance as a group, to then be able to working with you through the experience, and then the integration after. So you're recreating a whole new reality and integrating everything. And there's also opportunity for, if you're someone who wants a one-off personal experience, or a couple that wants that, and what that can look like, where theirs can be the preparation portal, and then going into that. So there's many different options, and yet you can find out maybe when groups are happening with Michelle through that portal, or just even fill out an application, and then our team is there to support in like what medicines you're actually interested and curious about and are calling to you, and what retreats are available and whatnot. So you guys can find out about not only the ones Michelle is running, yet also all the many other beautiful ways that she shares and teaches, from her Sacred Woman experience and her Sophia Mystery School, So many glorious things. So we'll connect all those things that you guys can check out here. And I definitely highly recommend following her on social media as well, because she is just like a fucking Jedi with truth and transformation. And, just being in her field and her essence is transformational. So I definitely highly recommend that, and just so grateful, so grateful. So for all of you, we love you. Hopefully in whatever you receive from this, even if it's, whether you're called to medicine right now or not, this is really to share like what's available and possible. And I know you could take some of these nuggets that Michelle shared, and even like, what do I get to shift and change in my life? Take radical responsibility to have a different experience, because it is all here and now. It's all available for us. And it's just a matter of choice, choosing to lean into it. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank you, Marci.
absolutely, huh?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. Awesome, beloveds. We love you so much. Have an amazing, wonderful day or night, and we will see you soon. Mwah.